Henry Fielding, the father of English novel. Fielding's contribution to English novel. Although the origin of novel is traceable back to the Greek literature of the ancient times, in its modern sense, however, it emerged only in the 18th century, due essentially to the personal attempts of Henry Fielding. It is he who not only gave a consistent theory of novel for the first time in the English literature, but he also practiced it in almost all his novels. This is why he has been rightly proclaimed by critics as the father of English novel. Novel as a literary genre is undoubtedly highly diverse in scope and varied in composition. Though the basic separation into fantasy, love, and adventure holds up reasonably well, the variety of the English novel is just astonishing. We speak of epistolary, picaresque, gothic, utopian, detective, psychological, sentimental, realistic, autobiographical and materialistic novels, etc. It is this variety which defies any precise definition. However, we may agree on a tentative definition that a novel is a book-length piece of imaginative fiction. Keeping in view this broad statement, we see that before Fielding, contribution made by Bunyan, Defoe, and Richardson in the advancement of novel is rather restricted. It is essentially Fielding who consciously reoriented the whole structure of the novel to get it closer to the modern standards of fiction as perceived in the 20th century. The first and foremost contribution of Fielding is the construction of coherent plots in his novels. In the other novelists, plot is relegated to a secondary position in favor of discussions and digressions. In John Bunyan, we come across not well-built plot but various incidents and events scattered all over. There are mainly theological discussions in almost all his novels. Defoe also suffers from inconsistent, incoherent, and imprecise plots. But Fielding is unique in the construction of appropriate plots. His Tom Jones is a perfect example of it, although Joseph Andrews does not completely come up to this standard. It is so because various episodes in Joseph Andrews are meant to be a parody of episodic plots found in Richardson and others. Tom Jones is decidedly a coherent and organic plot and has won a recognition by almost everyone. Yet another contribution of Fielding in the advancement of novel is his approach to realism. He has tried to unravel both the social as well as the psychological realities of life without any personal bias. He looked at things rationally, objectively, and faithfully. When he unmasks the surface behind reality, he also digs deeper into the innate motives. His Tom Jones and Joseph Andrews present these realities graphically. Before Fielding, realism was quite unheard of. The novelist mainly remains engrossed in the old fanciful sagas, medieval romances, exotic legends, unrealistic tales of chivalry and unfounded adventure. But Fielding took man and his social and psychological problems as the real themes of his novels and tried to cope with them in the most realistic fashion. Another characteristic of Fielding's new art is perceived in the field of characterization. He brought in real flesh and blood human characters with all their good and bad points. He did not go to any extreme like his contemporaries as well predecessors. His characters are individual as well as types. And they represent all shades of life. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of humor about them all. There is an element of Fielding likes all his characters, whether good or bad, equally. This shows Fielding's love for humanism. Another contribution of Fielding is that he came up with a new notion about the novel, which he calls a comic epic in prose. In this kind of novel, a plot of epic is invented with as much a variety of characters as possible, depicting all shades and colors of life quite realistically. And Fielding seems to have practiced this new theory in almost all his novels. Another feature of his theory is that both events and characters should be presented with an air of comic about them. This, however, does not employ exclusion of serious vision about life. In this way, Fielding tried to tone down the eruditeness of earlier burlesques in the novel by others. Before taking up writing novels as a profession, Fielding had composed a few dramas. He knew the significance of dialogues quite well in unfolding the character's real psyche as well revealing the action itself. The introduction of dialogues instead of letters is another contribution made by Fielding. His dialogues are lively, natural, and revealing. And there is a rich variety of it, ranging from serious, joyful, ironical, satirical, humorous, and sentimental to realistic. Another contribution of Fielding is the inclusion of humor in his novels. Humor was just fragmentary in the earlier novels, but in Fielding it became the very soul of his novels. That is one reason he called his novels comic epic in prose. He knew that through humor he could expose the incongruities and inconsistencies of life without causing offense to anybody. All shades and kinds of humor are there in Fielding, but it is mainly farcical. His Tom Jones, Joseph Andrews, and Jonathan Wild all contain exuberant expressions of it. Fielding's humor is like that of Shakespeare. It shows tolerance, understanding, and forgiveness on the part of the writer. It is something which was unheard of before Fielding in the fiction. Another contribution of Fielding is that he made the novel completely English in all its various aspects. His themes, characters, stories, and places are indigenous. In this way he proves himself to be essentially native and English in his approach. He did not go into the past nor in exotic lands to discover the realities of life. He embodied everything locally. He also did not draw his satires or plots from foreign sources. Everything is just native. Walter Scott rightly remarks, the persons of the story live in England, travel in England, quarrel and fight in England. All the characters mentioned in his novels come from the 18th century England. They uphold ideas, motions, and beliefs characteristic of that age. Even the inns, the roads, the highways mentioned in his novels can be traced in England. All these examples clearly show that Fielding made a significant contribution to the development of English novel. And he may rightly be called the founder of modern novel in the English literature.